Welcome to MacroCode. If you're new to this channel, consider subscribing. So today we are going to proceed with our electronics documents management system. So if you're watching our video for the first time and you haven't subscribed, just consider subscribing, like the video, and also comment down below. So tell us where you're watching from, and in case you have any comments, just share with us your comment, and we'll be happy to incorporate some of the feedback that we have. Now, on our application, this is our electronic documents management system. We have here our charts. So these are some of the charts that we have. Then also, we also have some of the modules that we've been able to do. So this is where you will find real life scenarios on some of the applications that we do. So if you have any question, just feel free to comment and also give us your suggestions. So here we have the first module, which is actually the file request. So you can request files. I'll just go to file requests. And here you'll see we have the number of records that we've just been able to create. So you can create a new file here. So you'll select the document, the department, the extension file, the date you are requesting, and when this should be returned. Then you can give your comments. Then you can click request. As you can see, this is awaiting approval. So we'll be able to see some of these details. Then we also have the documents. So you can provide the documents. So what I want us to do is here you can create a new document. I'll just say here testing documents. I'll say testing document. Then I'll select the folder. I'll say this is the document type. I'll say invoice, extension, department, retention period, then retention action. Then I'll select the file. I'll just come here. Let me just select the document here. I'll come and say here. Let me just say here I have my, let me just do here, select here file, then I'll say good, then I'll save. You can see this is our document has been saved. We also have clients. I'll create a new client. I'll say macro client, and you can say this is a macro client. Then we have here the macro client. We have our address. Then we have the phone number. We have here macro code as the contact person. Then you have the address. Then you save. So you can see this is you're able to save this. Then you have the folder. So you can create various folders where you are going to save the file. So this is our folders that we've created. And one thing to note is if I come here and say new folder, I can be able to say here testing. So I'll say here testing application folder. Then the name will be, let's say, sorry. So this is the name. This will be testing application folder. Then you can select whether this is a parent folder or it's just a sub folder. So I'll just save. And if I come here, I can also say sub test folder. So I can select whether this is a sub folder. Then I can say this is sub test folder. Then I can say this is part of the testing application folder. And you can see you're able to create that particular folder. Then you can see some of the folders that we have here. So if I click on the root, for example, HR, and I click here, so what happens is you can be able to see the folder structure. So this is the folder structure, how it looks like, and some of the details. So you can see the details that we have. They have the folder code, we have the folder name, when it was created and created by. So those are some of the details that we have. But also, if I decide to click here, you realize that I'm able to see the subfolders. So as you can see here, we have the subfolders. So this is the parent folder. We have the subfolder 1, the subfolder 2, and we have subfolder 3. So depending on how you are able to see this, then you'll be able to, in case you create subfolders, you can be able to have as many subfolders as you can. So it depends on the folder that you are opening. For example, the EDMS manual. So you can see this is the parent folder. This is the EDMS folder, and we have a button here. So you can see here we have a button. Once you click that button, then it opens for you the subfolders that you need to see, and that's actually the folder structure. So if I click on it, then I'm able to see the subfolders. So you see here, this is the parent folder, but you have the subfolders inside it. So you can create as many subfolders as possible, and we'll be able to see how you can access the subfolders until you also access the files. So if you want to see how that looks like, then stay tuned, and we'll be providing that particular section as we go along. So if you go to audit trails, so you can see on the audit trails, we have various details here. So we have the username. So this is the name of the person who created who was doing the activity. So the system tracks the user who is doing that. The audit type, whether it was added, whether it was deleted. So it depends on the action type. So this is the audit type that was done. Then you have the table that was affected. So you can see here we have different tables, and these represent the models. So these represent the models, and you're able to tell from these models what are those tables that were affected. So you can see here the timestamp. So this is the timestamp when that activity was done, and the primary key of the record. So you'll be able to see how we can display these particular details in on our view button. So we've not been able to activate this particular section, but we'll be doing that as we go along. So then we have users. So you can create a new user. So we have the username, we have the email address, first name, middle name, last name, address, phone number. Then we have the ethnicity. And we said these are actually pulling data from some of the tables that we have. So you can see, for example, ethnicity. These are drop down of list. And we are getting this data from system code details. Then you have also a list of countries. Then you can just provide the password and you create the user. So we have user roles. So yesterday we were able to see here we have the role. So you can create a role. So we have various roles here. So depending on the roles that you want to create, so you can create, you can see you have the ICT officer. This is the normalized name. You have the description. So you can provide some description. Then you have the created on. So you can also have the created by here. I think we didn't display that, but we can display. Then we have the user permissions. So as we were able to do this on our previous video, so you can select each of the role can have different permissions. So, and as you can see here, we have a role called ICT officer. Then we have the profile. So this profile represents the module or sub-module in the system. And you can see here we have the file requests, you have the documents, clients, you have the folders, and you also have the audit trails. Then you're able to see when that was created and who created that particular record. So these are some of the things that we're going to do. And we were able to see when we are creating this, if you click new, you select the role. So you're able to select the role here. So you'll select the role and you say, for this role, I want them to access our countries. Then you assign. So you can see now here, we'll be having that particular role, software developer, and they have been assigned to access countries module. And this is the timestamp when it was created and who created that. And you can see here we have a success message showing that was done. So if you're watching our video until this particular point and you haven't subscribed, please consider subscribing, like the video, and also comment down below. So you notice 90% of you guys are watching our videos and you haven't subscribed. So if you're one of them, just consider subscribing, like, and also comment down below. So what I want us to do, so we also have an option here. So if I just go to system profile, so our system profile here, you realize that these actually represent this represents the modules. So you can see this is a system profile. It represents the module. So this is the sub module. We have a module here. For example, you can see you have clients. Then you also have file request. We have documents. We have the audit, users, roles, user permissions, and all these others. So as you create these particular roles or sub modules, they can either be parent role or even a sub folder, a sub profile. So that's why you can see those that they don't have the parent profile here. That means they are actually the parent profile. Then you can have the order numbers and you can display who created that particular record. Then under system admin, you have departments, we have the countries, we have the system codes, system code details and settings. Now, I want us to begin today's episode by ensuring that, for example, let's just go to, I think we had an issue on roles. So here we were not displaying the created by, so you can add that. So let's just go to roles. So I'll go to, let me just come here and I say roles. Then on roles here, I'll go to our view model. So we have created on. So then I can have my string and say this is string. I say created by. Then you can say this is created by. Then this created by, we can have it here. So here we can say, can have this as created by. Then here we can also have here created by. Here our application role. I hope we have the, let's just come here. I hope we have the created by. Yes, I think we missed that. So you can see here, created on, we don't have created by here. So what I'll do here, I'll introduce created by. So I'll say here, created, so this will be string. And then you say created by ID. Then this actually is pulling from, you can say this is a foreign key, public application user. Then you say here created by, then you do get set. So that is our created by. So this one you can put it to be nullable. Then what I wanted us to do here, let's stop our application and we can actually do tools, NuGet package manager console. Then here we can say add migration. Add migration, then you can say application roles created by. So if we just do that, then we can add our migration. If we check on our table, we have the SPNet roles. It is actually missing created by. So you can see this is created on. So if you're watching our video until this particular point and you haven't subscribed, please consider subscribing, like the video, and also comment down below. So you can see this is saying failed. So let's see what is the issue here. So if we rebuild this, if there's an error, it will tell us. I think we were doing something here which was not done. So I'll just come here and we say created by, then we do full name. So after doing that, then I can come here and I can add our migrations. So let's just add the migration, then proceed and see. So if you haven't subscribed to our channel, just consider subscribing, comment down below, and also tell us where you are watching from. we'll really appreciate. So it says unable to create the dependent side could not be there and configure the foreign key property. So let's just go to our application DB context. I wanted us to, so I think let's just do this. I wanted us to do this. So let's just have this and say created by our identity role. Let's see. So let's see that. Okay, so we have to do something here. So that's what it is telling us. I want us to see how we can, let's just go back here. I want this to be a foreign key here. So what we need to do here, I wanted us to change something. So let's go to our application DB context. Then here on model create, here, you see this one. I want us to do builder, then dot entity. Then you can say application role. Then here you can say as created by. Then with menu, then you say as foreign key. Then you can say on delete behavior restrict. So let's try now to define that. So let's proceed and see how that looks like. So it should generate our migration file, and we should be able to proceed and update our database. So you can see now that is defined. So we just go and say update database. Then it should add for us a column here for created by. So that's one thing that we want. So let's just proceed. So there we go. So as you can see, it has actually created our column. If we just go here and refresh, then we should see a column here called created by, which is actually null. So if you see, we have this column here, actually null. So this is where now we'll be having our user who is creating that particular record. So let's just go back. So whenever we now create roles, yeah, I want us to ensure that you see here we had only the created on, but I want us to ensure that we also have created by. So, and remember how we get the user who is logged in. So let me check. I don't know where we had added that here somewhere. You see here. So this is how you get the logged in user. And for those who are watching this video for the first time, we have this method. So let me just go there. So here we have our service user profile. We have the get user ID and get username. And we are able to get, so if we do this, we're able to get the identifier. So you're able to get the ID of the person who's logged in. So I'll just do the same. I'll go to roles. And if I just do this, then I can assign here, I can say created by, then I'll do that. But now, when you are accessing this data, we need to have .include, and we'll say x dot created by. I usually like to have this in one line. I'll go here. We have dot include, then dot to list async. So let's try to launch our app and see if we are able to create a role, and then we are able to see the created by. So if you're watching our video until this particular point and you haven't subscribed, please consider subscribing. Okay, so we have our app. there. So let's just proceed and see how this looks like. So I want us to go to our roles. So let's just go to user roles, and then on user roles here, if I just, you can see here we have created by, which is actually empty. So if I do new, I say here super admin, then we say super admin role. So if I just add, then you realize now we have the super admin. So we created this account, we have the normalized user. So let's create, and we have here our created by. Let's create another one. We say system administrator. Then here we'll say the system administrator. I add that. So if we check, if we do this, then we'll have our system administrator. It is telling us who is actually creating this particular record. So that's fine. Now, that's one thing. But I wanted us to do something today. So apart from our file request, so if you remember, if you create a file and click details, so this is how our details looks like. So I wanted us to beautify this and ensure that we're able to present this in a very clear manner. So this is how it looks. So if we go to file request, where is it? I'll go to file request, details. So this is how our details looks like. And I want us to change this so that it looks a bit better. So I wanted us to change this, and this is how it looks. So we need to alter this and make it more appealing. So let's just go here, and we can do, I wanted us to change. So let's check. I think we had done something on the, if we go to documents, we had done something on documents. So if we click view, so you can see our documents, how our documents looks like. So we have the file name. You're able to get the details here, and this is how the records appear. Then you have the current version. You're able to see the version number, and then every document you upload, you're able to track the version history. So you see the version here. So, and you can actually download that particular record. So I wanted us to also do the same for file request. So if I click here, we should also have the same thing. So if we go to documents, I can copy what we have here. So let me just borrow one of this. Then if we go to file request, details, I'll just paste here. I can say file request details. Then I don't think I need this. So here I'll need now the document ID. The document ID, then documents dot file name. Then we have the department. I'll say department, then here department dot name. So we are having this data in a row. So you can see here, we have, it's actually kind of a table. So we check on our documents. Let's just check for those who are not here. You can see this is how it looks like. So this is what I wanted us to display. So here you'll see we have the first section displaying the details that we were able to provide. Then we have, for example, here this is a current version of the document. So we have version 3, and as you see, as you move down here, so let me just undo this. So if you move down here, you realize that the documents here, it has 3 versions. So you see we have version 1, we have version 1, 2, and 3. And the current version, you can see here, this is the version. I think the naming also is weird, so you need to change that. So let's just go here, we can correct that. Let's go to details, and you can say here current version, then you can say version here. So that's fine. So then apart from that, let's confirm. Let's go and address our file request details. So we have done department, so we need to do requester. So I'll close the table head here, table head, also close the table date table, close the div, and there are some div there that I need to close. If I just format this, then I'll have this section. You can see it's closed, and I can say here this is a file request details. Then here, apart from the requester, so we are having here, I'll just copy here as well, table row. So we are having requester. I'll say requester, then I'll do requester dot full name. What are the details? I'll also do status. I'll do a status, then I'll say status. Here I'll say dot description. I'll also do file extension. You can have comments. So I'll also change this. I'll change this. So you have here comments. Then I'll do the same comments. Then I can also have, I'll do file extension. So this will be file extension dot description. Then I'll do file extension. Then I'll do approved on. So I'll also do here approved on. Approved on. This is approved on. We have here approved by. So you can have here approved by ID. Then this is approved by. Then you have your full name. Then here I'll just say here rejected on. I say here rejected on. Say here rejected by. I'll say rejected by, then dot full name. Then you also have created on and created by. I'll take this, and we can have it at the top here. We can say created on. I'll also have this here. I'll say created by, then created by dot full name. Then what are the details? I think those are the only details that we need. If I remove this, then here, let's refresh and see. So I'll go to file request, view details. So you can see this is how our details looks like. We have here our file request details. We have the file name. So why you can see here we don't have the file name. Department is okay. Requester, status, file extension, created by. All these details are there. But for the file extension, file name, if we go to file request, then details, we'll just go to details. Then here we need to include. So I'll say dot include. Sorry, I think they are using here F. So let's just use F. Then file. document. This will actually be document, and I think we have it. No, we don't have it. So if we go to file request details, our file name, yeah, we have it here. So that's fine. So if we relaunch now this, it should now have all the details that we want. Now let's just check. So if we go to file request, view, so this is how it looks, and you can see here we have the details. So what I wanted us to do is I want us to change this. So here I can try to we can try to have a different, let's see, we can have a different style. So down here, where is it? Just after this row here, we have here, let's see, div a class call md6. Then we can close this. We say here div class, say border. Border. Let me stop our app. Say border, then rounded p3, then bg light, bg light, then you say h100. If I close this, then you can say here h6. Then here we can say, we can have this as class. Can do here text or success. Then we say array. Then here you can do I class. Then I can say bi check circle. Then I can close this. Then here I can say, let's see, approval details. Then here, just below the h6, I can do p. Sorry, I think we had there we go. So let me just accept that. So we have here p strong approved by. Then we have display approved that. Then we have this is closed. So let's see how this looks like. So these are different display. So we see if that is okay. So if we go to our app, so let's see how our app looks like. If I come here and say file request, and then I say details, you can see they are approved by. This is how it looks like. So you can have the same thing for rejection here. Let's just copy the same thing, and I'll also have it here. Then I can say here, this is rejection details. Then this is check. I can do here x circle. Then the same thing here will be rejection. Then this is rejected on. So if we update, let's see how that works. So you can see this is there, but I want this to be in a row. So if I just do here, div class row, and then I close this. I want this to be in a row, then I have it here. Then here, this is text. I want to be danger, and then that's fine. If we update this, let's see how it looks like. You can see we now have our rejection details here. Then you can remove it from here, these details here. So let's do away with that. So we're just trying to find a better way to present it. I'll remove this row, and I'll also remove this row here. So if I update this, then we now have our app. So you can see the file request details. We have the approval details, rejection, and we have these the details. Now, this is a simple display of what we have, but also I think we just leave these here. Now, remember the file request, it has the approval status. So I wanted us to also change on our index. So we need to have different statuses for the different color statuses. So we need to change our status so that whenever we have, you can see here we have the status, we are waiting approval. So you can display various statuses based on our details here. So what I wanted us to do here, I wanted us to check. So let's go to our create file request. So you remember we have a status, our status when you are creating. So this is the file status. So if we go to the database, go to system codes, we have a file request called file request status, that is ID 001004. If we check on our system code details, you can say here, can do here star, where our system code detail equals to 1004. So here, these are some of the statuses that we have. You can see we have the pending, approved, rejected, and cancelled. So I can come here now and say on our file request under index, I can say here if, I'll do if, I'll say at if item, I'll do here item dot status dot code. I can say dot status dot code equals to, so I can say here we can have one of these, we say pending. So then we can have a different status for our, so I'll just take this. Then here I can do span class. Then you can say here badge bg success. Where is it? Success. Then we can close this. So this one will be inside here. So this will give us the name. Now I can say else if I'll do this. So else if I need to check our status. If status is approved. So actually this success, you can say if it's approved, but if it's pending, then you can copy this. Then you can say here BG warning. We have warning. Then we display that. Then we also have else if it is rejected. Then you can say here if rejected. Then you can have here danger. If we do here danger, then you have our description. Else, we can do here else. So anything else, we can have secondary here. We'll just do here secondary. I'll say secondary. So that's one thing that we've done. So we have our table. So if I refresh this, you can see our status. So this is how our status now looks like. So we have a status which is awaiting approval, and it's actually showing that. So when we click display, then we should be able to see our status. We can also have a span here. Let's just check. We can also take this here to our display, that is under details. Then where is it here? So I'll also display it here. So here I'll be using now at model. Then we say dot status. I'll also here I'll be displaying a model. This is model. I'll change that. So if we update this, we should be having that status changing. So now I wanted us to ensure that now on our app here, we have these details here. But what we need to ensure that we need to have approve buttons with the comments. So we need to have the approve and delete buttons with comment. So on this particular screen here, we need to have at the bottom here, we need to have some buttons. So let me format it. Now, apart from that, then someone can approve or reject a record. So here, let's see. Let me just, I don't know, I need to, so just within the card, yes. So down here, so I want us to check. So I'll say at if, I'll say model dot status dot code equals to, if our status dot code equals to pending, then we should be able to have our approve buttons. So here I'll do div, say class row, and close this. Then I can have here, I'll say here form. So I'll do my form. And I can say here, I'll do sp action. I can say approve. Then I'll provide the root. So I'll say sp root. So this will be sp root id. Then here I'll say at model dot id. Then I'll have my method a post, and I'll say here class the inline. Now inside here I can say button type, can do type, so that will be submit. Then I can have my class btn success. Then I'll close. So here I can say, so you might want to have so on this, I think we might, let's just say success. Then we can have here, you can close this. Then we can have I plus, then you can do bi check. Then you can say circle. then you can have this button as approve. So this is one. So this is approval. I'll just put a comment here. So this is approval button. So then we can copy this, and we can copy this, and we can, let me just copy here. I can copy this, and then you can have it here. So here you can also say reject. Then we have our model. Then I can say this is X, and I'll say reject. Then this will be danger. So now if I refresh this, we should be having some buttons down here. So let's check. It says cannot override action. So yes, so let's just check. This is SP root ID. So here you'll say SP root ID. So let me just do away with this, then we'll see. We'll just do away with that. So let's relaunch our app and see. So if you're watching our video for the first time, consider subscribing, like, and also comment down below. So let's just confirm. So I'll go to file requests. Then here I'll say view. You can see we have these two buttons. So, but I need these two buttons to be side by side. So, so I need to have it side by side, so that we have this our approve action here. Then we have this. But now I can have my, can say input. So if we check what we have under edit, that's how we can, so you see something like this. So that's what we can have here. We'll just come to details. Then you can have our input ID. Then you also have our input ID. Now, this one, I wanted us to separate these into two. So I'll do div, can do here, deflex. Then you can say gap 2, then empty 3. Then I'll do here approve. Then method is post. That's fine. Then I can do my reject. Then here I can do circle. Then I can do here 1. Then I can also do the same thing here. 1. So if I update this, let's see how it looks like. So you can see I have my button approve here, and I also have my reject button here. But now all of this approved, I want it to be side by side. So, but also we need to have a comment here. So I don't know if we had added a comment on our file request. We didn't have that. So let's add a string. Yeah, I think we have comments, but we need to have approval comments. So I don't want to override the first comments. You can say here approval all comments. So here you can say comments. So that's fine. But now when you come to this other side, let's come to details. So here, instead of doing here, we can do justify. And say justify content between. Then empty 3, that's fine. Yeah, so and we have added this here. So approval comments. Now I want us to add approval comments on our details here. So when you're approving, I want us to ensure that we are able to provide approval comments. Then so here I'll just do div class mt3. Then I'll close this. Then I'll do away with this. I'll come and paste this here. Then on we need to have our approval comments just before the buttons. I'll say approval comments. Then here I'll do div class. I'll do mb3 and I'll close. Then we can have here, we can say label for approval comments. Then I can do class and say here form label. Then I can do this bold. Then I can close. Then here within the div we can have our text area. I'll do text area class form control. Then I can say here id approval comments. Then I'll say your name approval comments. Then I can say rows. I can do 3. Then I can close this. Now or I can have this as I can say here, I can do here, actually I can say here sp can do here model, then approval comments. Now because I have this, I'll have mine here. I'll have my justify approval buttons, and that's fine. So if I do this, then that's okay. What I need to do now, we need to add migrations. So I'll just go to file. So remember we've added this column. So I'll have here, this can be nullable. And I can say here approval comments. I'll go to tools, NuGet package manager console, and then we can try to update that. So what I wanted us to do now, let's go here. You can say add migration, then we can say approval comments. So once we do that, then we are going to add that particular button on our app. So if you're watching our video until this particular point and you haven't subscribed, please consider subscribing, like the video, and also comment down below. I'll just come here and say update database. Then we should be having our database updated. So let's just see. So there we go, we have our database updated. Now, if we launch our app, so go to our database and file request. So we realize that we have now a column called approval comments. So let's go to the database and see, to the application, and see if we can view so if we come here and say view data, then we should see here we have our buttons. So we have the approve and we have reject. Then here you can see we have the approval comments. So here, if we come back here, we need to show that this one is not showing anything. You can say here, if I update this, it should tell us approval comments here. So you can see we have our approval comments. So this is now where you provide the comments and you approve or reject. Now we need these actions. You see these actions here and this one. We don't have it on our app. Now we need to provide them. So what we need to do, I'll go to our details. We'll need to go to our file request. Then I'll create those actions down here. I'll say here public async. Then I can say task. Then I can say action result. Then we can say reject. We can start with approve. You can say approve. Then we can say file request. So you can request that particular file, say VM. Then I'll say here, I'll just do here this way. Now this one, so here you can have our redirect to index. But before that, when you are creating our file, we have the status. You see this status. So once a record is approved, we need to change the status and some details. So one thing that we need to do is we need to check if we say here variable. So let me stop this. So I'll just say here variable user ID, that's fine. Then you say file request, that is fine. We need to get the file request. Then we need to check if that file request is not null. What do we need to do? We need to, you can see here, we have some suggestions. Else, we have that. Now here, what has happened is, we have our file request. You need to get the file request. So if we get the file request, we need to have the approved by, and if you check here, we have our approved by here, which is null. Then we also have the approval comments. We have approved on. So approved on, which will be date time. So this is the timestamp. So we'll do here. So we have date time. Then we have the time here. Then apart from that, apart from this, we have here this approved on. Then we have here this the timestamp. Then what other thing do you need here? That's fine. Then we need to get the approved status. We have the system codes where then this is our file request. We are getting the approved status. So once we have the approved status, we need to change here the status, then we update and save our changes. Then we redirect that to index. So the same case we've done here. So we also need the rejected. So I'll say here rejected. So this is reject. I'll also do the same thing. So as you can see here, I need to find that. I can close this. So I'll say this is I need to return here. Then I can say if, so I just want to get, we can have the same thing here, but now we'll be having let me just paste it here. So here, instead of approved by, we say rejected by, rejected by. So we have here rejected by, then we have rejected on, then we have the approval comments, then here we need to have the rejected status, and then here we need to get our status, which is if we go to system code details, then we need our ID here. So I'll say here star where system code ID equals to 1004. So if I do that, then we have these statuses. Then here I can do rejected. So I'll have here my rejected. Then here I'll say this is rejected status. Then I can have here my rejected status, update this, and then file request rejected. So rejected successfully. So that's one thing that we need to do. So what I wanted us to do now is I wanted us to check. So we now have our reject, and we can say this is HTTP post. We have this HTTP post, then we have that. So let's try and see how this looks like. So if we try to reject a record, what will happen? So let's just launch our app. So we have our app there. So if we go to file requests, then if we go here, I can come to details, and we can see we have the file request details, we have the file name, we have the rejection details. Then here I can say this is okay, it's approved. So let's put a breakpoint here. And just put a breakpoint here. And if I click here, approve. So nothing has happened. So actually here we need to have the ID. So let me just check. Here we should be having we can say int ID. Then this one should be ID. These also should be, so here we should be having, but this one we should actually be having we should pass this VM. So the same way we were doing on create, I think we were able to see this. You see this file request. So we were able to do this. Now, if we come to approve on details, I wanted us to check one thing. So here we'll do action. So this is what have we done here? You see, this should be the case, SP action. So we've done just action. So that's why we have this problem. So here we should be doing SP action. Same case here, SP action, then we should be good. So let's relaunch our app and see. So if we relaunch this, if you're new to this channel and you haven't subscribed, please consider subscribing, like the video, and also comment down below. So I'll just go to file request, then here details, then you can say approved, say click approved, then we have the ID. You see we have this ID. Then our comments, we have our comments. Did you provide comments? Yes, we said approved. So let's check. You see approval comments is null. So if we come here, we say text area. Let me just do away with this. And we have that. So if we proceed, let's say disable. Let me redo it. And I think we have now a record that has been approved. So let's relaunch. So let's launch our app. And if we go to our app here and file request, you can see this is now approved. We have our record approved here. If I click details again and I say this is approval request, and I say here approve, let's have a breakpoint. So approval comments is not coming with a value, and the reason being, if we go to details, SP, this one should be having, we have a file request. So it's the same case so here we can say we should be having, even we can say here comments. SP, that's fine. It's actually file request is a model. Then we proceed. So if we try again another one, we say this is approved. Let me update this. So if we click here and say approve, let me check our approval comments. These approval comments, and if we come here and say text area, this is not providing the value. So I need to check here. So if we say text area, it's not giving us they say SP for approval. So this will be approval comments. We have our row there, and here I don't think there is a problem here. I see. I think that's where we might not be getting the value. So we have not wrapped this inside the We have not wrapped it inside the buttons. So what I wanted us to do, let's do this. I'll just copy this. So inside here, so let me do away with this. I'll do away with this. So this one, I can also have it here. If I do this, let's relaunch and see. We should be having the value for both the approval comments and also the rejected values. So here I'll do approval. I'll just go there. If we go to view, you see this. I have two options here. But now I need to ensure that I only have one input. Only have one input. So that's why we don't have this. So I'll say here. I want when you click on approve. Let me undo this. We'll see how we'll handle that later. For now, let's just have our approval comments here. I'll update this. Then we have our buttons here. So if we go to our file request, the ones that we've approved, and click details, then you will see now we don't have the approval button. We only have so this one, we have the approval details, we have approval by, we have this is the, so we have the details that were approved. So let's do one rejection. So here I'll do details. This is rejected. This is, and I click here reject. So you can see our record has been rejected. So we can reject another one. This is rejected, and I can say here rejected. So there are various ways on how we can do the approval and reject. But now I wanted us to do something else. So instead of doing these actions here, what we've just done, I wanted us to change this. We can actually have our reject and approve as reserve use. So let's change that. So I'll add this, and I can have this as approve. I can say here approve file, approve file. Then what I'll do, I'll copy our details, paste it here. Then I'll remove the reject here. Then I'll have my I can do empty 3 here. Then I'll have my comments. I'll put it inside here. Then I'll remove this div. I'll also remove this. I'll format this. Then what I'll do is I now have my approved comments. Then here I'll now have my approved file. I'll say this is approved file. Then this is fine. Then here I'll say approve file request. Now on this reserve view, I'll go to my controller, and you see we only have the post method. So I'll introduce I'll introduce the get, and it's the same way we have our details. So let me just get the details. You see this? I'll pick this and I'll come here, replace this, and I can have approved file here. Then here I can say this is a approved file. So here this is our, so we have the approved here. Now we can also have the reject. I'll also create another action for reject. So I'll do reject. So if you are new to this channel and you haven't subscribed, please consider subscribing. Comment down below. I'll also say here reject file. So I'll copy the same thing we have on approve, paste it here. Then I'll say this is reject file. Then here I'll say file request. Then I'll do away with this. Then this one will say this is HTTP get. Then we can have this. Then this one will be our reject file. So let me just copy this here. We have our reject here. Then you can also say this is our reject file. So you are just getting the details. Then here on our file, we'll say this is reject file. Then here we can have our, let's say, reject file. This is X. This is X, and this is danger. Then what we need to do is on our index, we have a way on how we can now launch these two buttons. So currently we just have the so if I just go here, so we have the approved file and reject file, but on index we can navigate on those two. So you have only two buttons. So I wanted us to introduce a way. So let's just have here a TD. Then you can have a div. So I'll say div plus, then ms auto. Then I'll close this. We also have div plus, let's say class btn group. I'll close this as well. I'll also have I can have some buttons. So here I'll have a button, then type, I'll call it button. Then I can say class btn primary. Then I can close this. Then you can say this is actions. Then here I'll also have I also have some toggle. I'll have a button. So there we go. So here I'll say button btn primary. Then here I can say, let me use a different style. I'll say split. Do you have even that? I don't think so. We have drop down toggle, drop down split. That's fine. Then I wanted us to, then we have database toggle drop down. That's fine. Then this is then we can close here. You can say this is button. So let me comment one of them. Then because we have that, then here inside our div here, you can do div plus, then drop down. drop down menu. I can say drop down menu right. Do you have something like that? Drop down menu, drop down menu, and let's do end. Then so this one should say, you should say drop down menu, let's say here LG end. Now if I close this, we can do here now, you can say SP actions, say here edit, drop down item, but you can also have some icons. So you can do here I class, and say here BI pencil. Then I can close this. I can have the same thing here, BI I. Then I can close that. Then I can do away with this. Then here, instead of doing this, I can say actions. So let me format this. So if I relaunch our app, so let's relaunch and see how it looks like. So if you are new to this channel and you haven't subscribed, please consider subscribing, like the video, and also comment down below. So I'll go to our app, file request. Then you can see we have our actions. If I click on it, I have my buttons. So you can see I have edit and view. Now, I wanted us to change this so that we are able to, we need to add various buttons. So one is we need to also have a divider on this particular section here. So I'll say div class, then I say drop down. I need to have drop down divider. I'll just have my drop down divider. Then I can copy this. Then here I can say check circle, and I can say approve. And this one I can have, so that's fine. I can also have another one. I can say X. Then this is, and I also need reject file. So if I copy that, then it should be good. So let's proceed and see. So if you're watching our video until this particular point and you haven't subscribed, please consider subscribing, like the video, and also comment down below. So I'll just go to our app, and here I will just come here and I'll go to file requests, and if I click this, then you'll be able to see my buttons. So I can say approve. So you can see it is able to provide the approved file, but now this record has been rejected, so we can't approve. So we go back here and we say this one, approve. So you can see we have our request and this is approved, but here we only have the comment. So this should fill the entire screen. So let's go to approve section. Here we need to have this as can say here, so call MD12. So let's just do that. If I update, so there we go. It's not so this one I can also maybe now leave this one this way. I can actually have this as a call, and this will be a row. Then I can have this as a top 3. Then if I update, let's see how it looks like. So you can see this is there, but our button here, let me just do that. I update that. So this should be, we need some spacing here. Let me do 4. So that's our button. We need now to approve. So you can see this is how our button looks like. We have the approve comments, and you can provide the comments here. So the same case we have here for reject. So I'll just say now approved. File, request, details. So if I go to my action, so this one should actually, we should change this to, so let me just stop that. The action here should change to file approve request. And on our reject, we should also change this to, can do here row. Then I can also have this button margin top. Oh. Then here we can have this as a, call and data. Now that's fine. Now also on the reject, we should change this to reject file for the actions. Then if we go to, let's relaunch our app and now try to reject a file. So here we can have our, we can put a breakpoint. I think it is there on the approved file. So here, if I go to file request, I can go to approved file, and I can say this is approved documents. If I click approve, you can see here I have my view model, and now my comments, I can see my comments here, and I have my ID. Here is my ID. If I proceed, then I should be able to see my success message. You can see our file has been approved successfully. Now, if I go to view, I need now to be able to provide the approval comments. So you see here, I don't have any comments. So I'll come to details. I'll come to details, and I can have here also approval comments. So approval comments. So here I'll say approval comments, and here I'll also add this here, but this one I'll say rejection comments. So if I update this, then I should be able to see my details. So you can see the comments that I have here. So the challenge now, you see here we have the same approval comments and rejection comments. So you can even try to separate. Now, if we come to our model, let's go to file request. So you can decide to have here approval comments, and you can have rejection comments. So let's have a rejection comment here. Then we can add our migration. You can add migrations. I'll just do tools. You get package manager console. Then I'll do here. So if you're watching our video until this particular point and you haven't subscribed, just consider subscribing, like the video, and comment down below. tell us where you're watching from, and we really appreciate. So here I'll just do add migration, and then you can say rejection comments. So rejection comments. I'll add our migration, then we'll be having our file, our rejection comments file added. So you can see this is our rejection file, rejection comments. So I'll proceed and say update database. So add the database, and that is fine. So we should be having now a new column in the database. So if you come to file requests, so we have our rejection comments now here. So that's one. So let's proceed here and say, where is our rejection file? So I'll change now on our details. Under rejection details, we'll be having rejection comments. Now, then on the rejection, so let's just go on the rejection, we'll be putting rejection comments here. Then also on the details, I think we've changed that. We'll be on the controller, we'll be doing here, instead of approval comments, we'll be doing rejection comments. So let's relaunch our, sorry, so this is on approval. We should be doing that on the rejection part. So that's fine. So let's relaunch our app and see how that looks like. Okay. So here we have the file. I'll say here approve, and you can say here, you can see we don't have anything. I'll say this is approved. Click approved. Then our file has been approved. Then for the rejection, if I click here reject, say rejected, I click rejected, and you can see it's rejected. So if I click on details here, you see this is rejected, and this is the option. So here we should be saying rejected on and rejected by. So go back to our details. So this should be rejected, rejected by, rejected on. Same case on proof file. So this should be rejected by, rejected on. Then also on rejected, rejected by, and rejected on. So if we update our app, then this will change to the respective comments that we have. Now, there's one thing that we need to change on our app, and as you can see here on the status, a record is approved, but we can actually still click on approve. You see we have those buttons there. So I want us to ensure that for every record that has been approved, we need to hide the approval button and even the rejection button. So we need to ensure that those buttons cannot be seen, and no one can actually use them after a record has been approved or even rejected. So it depends. So if we go to our index, let's go to index. Let's go to index page. So you can see here we have so the same case we were doing with this status. So I wanted us to do the same thing here. So here, if a record is pending, that's when you'll see these buttons. I'll just wrap it there. So you can see here, you see this one. Sorry, I'll copy and have it here. So unless the record is pending, then you will see these approved and rejected. So these ones here. Else those records will disappear. So you can't do anything about the record. So let's check how that looks like. So I'm going to relaunch the app. Then here, if we go to file request, then here you can see if a record has been approved, the buttons are missing. If a record is rejected, the buttons are missing. And if a record is pending, then we have those two buttons. So if we click here, reject, say here, this is rejected, and I click reject, then you can see all of this is now rejected and some are approved. So that's a simple way on how we've done it. So I'm going to leave it there for today. So in case you haven't subscribed to our channel, please consider subscribing, and see you in our next episode. Bye-bye.